Hey, good morning and welcome to Panic and Rehab. In the morning, do we cue up that music?
Yeah, you didn't hear it?
Nope, didn't hear it,
Yeah,
which is fine.
must be because we're both on the host screens.
And I'm T Skillett. I'm with you today. Tyler's on the road, and so I'm T Skillett hosting Panic and Rehab, and this is our five a.m.
Oh, okay. Hold on,
show.
hold on, T. I know. Let's stay where you're at. I want to make. I want. This is a do over. Just stay right where you're at. I know what the problem is. Did you hear it?
Didn't hear it, but
Ah,
But this is James from Empty Pockets Podcast. And so we're going to be hosting the show together, co hosting partners in crime or partners in humor for Good Morning Humor. And this is just a morning show. This is part of the Panic and Rehab. We have a morning news after this show and then an afternoon update on Panic and Rehab. And so we have a little bit of fun with our 5 o'clock in the morning show. Today, we have our rundown. This is National Find a Rainbow Day. Now, our pretty
oh,
rainbow, our pretty.
me and you together, you'll never be the same, Skillet.
I know, I know it. I'm looking forward to today. Let me just get out the old dartboard. We're going to celebrate a new mile marker. Yesterday, James scored over 200 points in the on the on our dartboard of cuss. Our
I always
cussing
knew one day I would
dartboard.
be a winner. I
You're a
always knew
winner.
I'd always knew one day I would eventually win something.
You want a chicken dinner, so you're a
Well,
winner.
question
Winner.
is, do you have a karaoke song picked out for me?
I do. I do kind of. I don't want to get in trouble, but it's all country, James, because that's how I feel today. It's Good
Oh,
Friday and it's country music, making it easy for you. I do. I'm
oh,
going to try.
it's
But today we're
it's
celebrating.
only easy if you know it.
I know. I
Go
know.
ahead.
I
Go
know.
ahead.
It's well. They wanted me to play. It's Raining Men from karaoke. It's Raining Men. That was from Killer Carl Radio. That was his suggestion last night. So not doing that.
Well, I'm from the
All-
disco era, so
yeah. All right. So today's National Find a Rainbow Day. It's an observance that encourages people to look up in the sky after rain for a colorful arc that is the symbol of hope and beauty. Isn't that good? That's a good feeling day right
yeah. So
there, you
it's
know?
national. So it's National Gay Day.
Yeah, how did they, that's just another thing that's been confiscated from us is just beautiful rainbows. I don't know. We get a lot of rainbows in Florida because it rains every day. So I like rainbows. I didn't really buy into the go find a pot of gold, at the end of a rainbow. Never, but I have seen the end of a rainbow in a field before, big
Yeah,
pasture.
I mean it's still a spectacular phenomenon to look at.
Yeah. And it's also National Chocolate Mousse Day, celebrating the light and airy French dessert of mousse. I didn't really get it, but
So what you have today is at the end of the rainbow, you got a bunch of possible drag queens smothered in mousse.
I've never seen a I've only seen photos of drag queens, and I have been in Key West, and I saw a lot of guys that dress in drag in Key West. And so I have to do a lot of explaining to my daughters of what that is and don't touch them, wash your hands afterwards. But I saw them go into like Ruby Tuesdays or go into Fat Tuesdays to have a very powerful Slurpee. But I never really saw them go eat chocolate mousse. I mean, I
Well,
would
now,
just,
but you
I would,
just said something there. Very powerful Slurpees. They're
Slurpees.
used to slurping things. So
Yeah. Well, the only time I
I
would,
mean, we can put zingers in here all morning long, baby.
I know. I know that I only picture a trans person eating moose when they're crying, sitting in a chair, all depressed, and that's the last thing they're
But
eating
it'll
while
be
they're
at the end of a
crying.
rainbow, though.
Yeah, that's what I. Oh, okay. Well, today is also Good Friday. So,
Yeah.
Good Friday, and everybody says, "Well, that's why do we call this day Good Friday?" Because Christians believe that Jesus sacrificed death, paid the price of humanity's sins, bringing forgiveness and reconciliation with God. So it's called Good Friday. It's a celebration. But you remember the story of Jesus's Good Friday and how it and what happened on a single day, a single day.
Well, I mean, I know like the story you just told, where this is when he it was at the end of his life, and then they carried him off into the tomb and
Yeah,
covered the
it
tomb.
was it kind of like if today's judicial system is if you get arrested, you have your day in court in the United States, right?
Yep,
So in the Roman times, and you have to remember that Romans ruled, right?
yep,
Jerusalem, they ruled that part of the world. That was part of the Roman Empire. Your trial was about an hour, and then and then if they decided to put you to death or put you as a slave, they could do both. They could put you as a slave, they could just beat the heck out of you, or they could crucify you. And they had 3 or 4 different choices to make. And that all happened within an hour. Okay, so that decision, you had no defense attorney, you had no protection. You were basically brought before the magistrate, and then your fate was decided within about an hour. And I saw I reviewed it yesterday. Jesus, they had the Last Supper the night before, and then Jesus was arrested between midnight and 1 a.m. Judith was paid. Judith told the Romans, "Listen, whoever I go up and kiss, that's Jesus," because they really didn't know who Jesus was. Okay, they didn't know
right.
which one of them was
But
Jesus.
wasn't it was the Jewish clerics that convinced the Romans to even do this? They didn't even want to do it.
Well, this is what happened during that day. Okay,
Okay.
so Jesus was arrested between midnight and 1 a.m. After Judith pointed him out to the Romans, and then he was brought before Pontus for the trial of Jesus at 6 to 7 a.m. Okay, so at 6 to 7 a.m. he's before Pontus Plate. How do you say it? Pontus
Palladius.
Palladius. Anyways, before the guy. And so they tell the charges. He's a rebel. He's a rabble rouser. He's a whatever. That's basically what it was. So at at um at 8 a.m. At 8 a.m. Plaintiffs offers Jesus to the religious leaders, and they said, "Listen, I'm going to let you interview him, and then you decide what you want to do." Well, they tossed it. They go, we're not making any decisions." They handed it back to Pontus, right? Handed him back and said, "We make no decisions on what we're going to do with this guy." Handed him back to Pontus. So Pontus says, "Listen, to the crowd." Now, this is all being ruled by a mob, okay? Because again, remember, Romans aren't that many, and all the little minions, there's a lot of them. So it's kind of like you have to rule by mob. And so he says to the mob, "Okay, listen, I'm going to offer Jesus. I got 2 prisoners in front of me, Jesus and Barabbas." And Barabbas was a career criminal. And so they had arrested him also. And they said, you can release one of these guys. One of these guys can go free to the crowd. Who do you want? And they said, "Barabbas. We want Barabbas. Release Barabbas." Okay. So he goes, "Hey, it's your choice. I'm just here, hanging out with the other Roman soldiers. No problem. Here you go. Here's Barabbas." So they go, "What do you want us to do with Jesus?" And he goes, "Crucify him." The crowd yells for crucifixion. So at 9 a.m., now this is 6, 7, 8, and at 9 a.m., they nailed Jesus to the cross. Now they offer you some wine. They say, "Hey man, before we crucify you, you want, you know,
But
and you want some."
didn't they beat him first?
Oh yeah, the Roman soldiers put a crown of thorns on him. They made him carry his crucifixion to the site. The hole was already dug. They crucify you onto the wood of a cross, and then they tilt it up, and you go into the hole. Okay, the base of the crucifixion goes into the wood structure goes into the hole, and then you're hanging there. Okay, because they want you to hang there until your meat and bones come off the crucifixion, to be a warning that, hey, you better act right in this town or you're going to get crucified. Okay, it was always a warning. A lot of societies did that. The English used to put people in cages and not feed them, and you would see prisoners in cages all the way to London. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so they used to hang pirates on the docks, and they leave them there, in islands. So when you pulled up in a ship, you're like, Wow,
Yeah,
these guys don't fool around, you know?
till the crows pick the flesh off their bones.
Right. So at 9 a.m., Jesus is crucified. All right. And he's with three prisoners that have been crucified that morning. He's between two criminals, that have been put on a cross and put up for public display. From 12 noon till 3 o'clock, there must have been an eclipse because darkness covered the land. Darkness covered the land. And this is when Jesus was praying to God, like, why have you done this to me? And then he says to God, please forgive them, God. They do not know what they do. And at 3 p.m. he says, I am done. I am through. Okay. And he dies. And so at that point, there was a massive earthquake. All right, massive earthquake. There were weird things happening in that whole general area at 3 o'clock. Earthquake, something else happened, a big rock cracked, curtains ripped. I mean, all kind of crazy stuff.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yep. And so Jesus expired. Joseph asked Pilate for the body. Please don't leave him there to hang forever. Give me the body. So he grants that. So they take Jesus down, they wrap him in linens, and then they put spices to him. They had hundreds of pounds of spices that they put on the body, wrap it in linens, and then he was carried to a new tomb cut in a large rock, and then a large stone was rolled and across the entrance and put in place. So you can't get in, you can't get out. Then a whole bunch of other things happened after that, and that's part of the gospel. But that was Jesus's Good Friday. But today, here we have we're chasing an Easter bunny and getting coloring eggs and getting all ready for Sunday because that's when he rises. But the day is called Good Friday because Christians believe Jesus sacrificed death, paid the price for humanity's sins, bringing forgiveness and reconciliation with God. But hey, that it kind of tells you what the legal system was back then. Basically, you were tried, convicted, and put to death all within about 6 hours. 6 hours. 6. All right. Well, I don't know. This is a
Yeah,
possible.
now it takes 6 months just to go to trial.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, 6 months. All right. Well, we have crazy stories. All right. Let's see if I can bring these. Let's see if I can bring these up. All right. Okay. Just bear with me a little bit. All right. All right. Crazy story. Let's see. Crazy story. Windows. I know we practiced this too, James. I don't understand.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Practice. Okay. First story. A drunk teenager breaks into an Airbnb in Florida that's being rented by cops. That's your first story today. That guy just he's going to have a life-altering decision right there. Breaking
Jamar,
into, and what are you going to steal? You're going to steal what? A coffee maker, a Craig or a Geg,
Airbnb,
or what?
yeah.
A 1-cup coffee maker. You're going to steal a flat screen TV, and you just got to meet the Blue. So there you go.
Morning, Larry. Somebody just popped in the old. I don't know if you can see the chat room or not.
I can't. If I mess it up, I'm going to mess up.
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
So what do you think's going to happen to this kid?
You'll probably get maybe instead of Airbnb, he'll get rent free for 90 days at the local county jail.
But if he's a kid, he's going to go to juvie.
Well, juvie jail, whatever. He'll probably get.
Uh-huh.
Now, if he's never been in trouble, he'll probably just get some kind of a probation and community service.
But see, he broke into an Airbnb with cops that are being rented by cops. So they're going to throw the book at him. I mean, the cops
Well,
are.
Now,
So number one, he's
are they going to throw the book at him, or are they going to just they were laughing so hard they had a hard time arresting him?
well, and that depends on how violent he was. He was drunk, right? So they're going to get him for underage drinking, breaking and entering, and then I don't know, just being a dumb. Well, at least he's out of the at least he's out of the house trying to make a living. He's
See,
not playing video games. He's actually doing a real video game. He's playing out a video game. Who
yeah.
knows?
So
Maybe.
where'd you get drunk at? Mom and Dad's house. Oh, so we need to go take it with
Oh,
them.
oh no! I didn't even
Yo,
think about that. Oh
yeah.
no!
You know those parents. I'd much rather have him drink here than get out there and do something silly. We
Oh
didn't know he'd
no!
walk out of the house after he got drunk and do something silly.
Right. Oh, I forgot. It's like, why are you bringing him here, son? I didn't do anything. Our next story is now we've all done. I mean, I don't know if we've all done this, but I've had a few frosties while on a riding lawnmower mowing grass because that's what men do. Florida man is arrested for riding lawnmower drunk on a highway. Well,
There's old.
you got to get,
There's modern day old possum. That's
yeah,
what they called. That's what they called
George Jones.
George Jones. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, George Jones. And hey man, the guy's going to get some more beer. I mean, you're running low. You got to fill up your lawnmower with gas, right? And
Yeah.
get another six pack.
You know the story behind George Jones doing that, don't you?
It had to be up in Nashville, right? Tennessee.
Yeah, but what happened was he was married to Tammy Wynette at the time, and he was drunk, and he said, "Where's my keys? I'm going in. I'm out of alcohol. I'm going in to get some alcohol." He said, "The hell you are!" And she hides the keys on him. He
Uh
said, "Well,
huh.
I don't need to take the car." And then that's the lawnmower,
Oh man.
and off the town he goes.
And what was the race car driver that was also Marty somebody? Marty. He was a race car driver and a country western singer, and he wrote a lot of country songs and a
Or
lot of
Marty Robbins.
Marty Robbins. He wrote a lot of songs, and he'd get in his race car. And it's funny because my dad went to Duke, and his roommate was from California, and the guy from California's family found all these markers from Spanish explorers. They found all these markers on their land. It was worth a lot of money. Got a lot of money. They bought all this property out of California. That's who we went out in the motorhome to see when I saw my first hippie compound. Okay, that I've told you about 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was my dad's first roommate in college at Duke, and they built Sears Point Raceway, right? The family did. My dad's
Um,
roommate's family they built Sears
the
Point Raceway.
the road
And,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so he had a race car that they painted like a normal car, put lights on it, and that's what he drove to Duke. So my dad's roommate, hi, I'm Bo from Orlando, and I'm such and such from San Francisco, and they're roommates. And this guy goes, "Hey, you want to go for a ride in my car?" Sure. And my dad goes, "It's a freaking race car that painted like a regular car." So the guy was really cool. I mean, he was the coolest dude ever because he was like you, James. He was a man's man. You know what I mean? He was a man's man, and he did cool stuff, and he built cool things, and he was an attorney out in California. He was just kind of guy that it was good to ever get introduced to a person like that because he was a man's man. He was a man's man, and he had a beautiful wife, Penny, and oh man, it's just a wonderful guy. So um, he talked about, this Marty guy had a race car, this Marty Robbins. So he had a dressed up like a normal car and like driving around car. And so he would take that car around Tennessee and call in to radio stations from far away from all these different points around the radio station requesting that they play Marty Robbins songs. And it was actually him telling them to play at the radio station.
Going
So it's
around
pretty
from
funny.
payphone to
I know
payphone.
I know I really wore that story out. That was a long way to get
Yeah.
on that story,
There
but
was
it was
a couple years ago. There was a YouTuber, and I'm trying to think of his name. He bought one of those uh, NASCAR Truck Series trucks,
uh-huh.
and he that's what he did. He got it and was driving down the highway and got pulled over by the state highway patrol where he lived, and they thought it was so cool because it was somebody's famous truck. I can't remember who it is now. That
Hmm.
they literally got pictures with the cops in the truck, and then they let him drive it home.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, now me, of course, I would have been doing about 130, so they would probably not let me go. But he was doing the speed limit, but straight up not street legal, not any. I mean, nothing street legal about it. Driving
Yeah.
down the highway and gets pulled over, and then. But I think something happened to the police officers. They got in trouble because see, he posted that on his YouTube channel,
Oh.
the
Well.
interaction with them, because they were filming. They were filming it
Mhm.
for his YouTube channel, and so I think the cops got in trouble for it. But
So of course, having my dad tell us that story, I always was interested in racing. So I would go. We had also had a friend that was an official with the international sports car thing. So we would always go over for the 24 hours of Daytona, but we would also go during practice and during qualifying races for the drivers to qualify to race in the 24 hours. So the 24 hours of Daytona was you could run. I saw a Jeep one year run. They had a Wrangler Jeep run in the 24 hours of Daytona. They had four-cylinder um, little Martins. They had Sunbeams. They had MGBs.
oh yeah,
And I tell you that this one guy had a V8 MGB GT with the hardtop, and I mean he was quick. He was fast, and so they have to qualify. They have to do a qualifying race before they're allowed to race in the 24 hours. So they have a race in the earlier in the year. I think the 24 hours is like the last weekend of January. So let's say back in July, August, they'll have a qualifying race for all these amateur racers to qualify to race in the 24 hours. Well, this guy had a Porsche, and he had a big racing team. Everything was beautiful, big team, mobile trailer, the whole thing. Comes out of Jacksonville with his Porsche, and his car carrier, his whole equipment broke down on 95 going south from Jacksonville to Daytona. It's only about, I don't know, an hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half, if that, from Jacksonville to Daytona. So he just rolled his Porsche off the car carrier, right? Put his helmet on, put his mechanic in the Porsche with him, because it was only just like a 25 lap qualifying race, if that, just 25 laps qualifying, just to see if you can keep up to speed and not
right.
kill yourself, right? So he put a tank of fuel in there. He had his mechanic carry some tools, carries some fuel, and they get in the Porsche, and he just drives the race car to Daytona at where he broke down on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe maybe he broke down at Palm Coast or whatever. It's about halfway. Well, James, what are you going to do? If you're in your racing car, you got your mechanic with you, you got to make the race, because if not, you can't qualify for the 24 hours. So you think you're going to, jack
Take
it
a
up a little
chance.
bit?
Take a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah. He was going just under two. He got pulled over doing just under 200 miles an hour with his mechanic in the
Well,
car.
yeah, that's a little different.
And the judge took his license away
Yeah,
forever. He
I
was no longer available. He was no longer available to drive anymore. So he only had hot chicks drive him around, man. That was it. He owned a Porsche dealership up in Jacksonville, and he only hired hot chicks to drive him around for the rest of his career. That was funny. That
well,
was the
I tell you what I did back in the '90s. I round track
yeah.
raced back in the '90s,
Uh,
and my car. I worked a lot of hours on my regular job, so my car was damaged from the race from the previous week. So when I got home Friday, uh, like Friday evening, because I worked second shift, and then I have Saturday and Sunday off.
right,
So uh, we finished the repairs up like at 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday night, Saturday morning, and
right.
then we got to load it up and be at the track by noon.
Hmm.
So, but we need to test drive it, plus get it up to temperature, make sure everything's all right, plus load it on the trailer.
Right.
Well, so 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm firing this, just the thing sounded like it was a four cylinder, but it sounded like a bunch of pissed off hornets, and it was loud. So this thing's echoing through my neighborhood, and
I bet you they loved you.
all my buddies like, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I'm gonna drive around the block." And he said, "Well, man, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get caught." He said, "No, I'm going to drive it real, really fast so we can get it on the trailer before any cops show up." And so that's what I did. And I swear, so many house lights, porch lights come popping up. You think all the car alarms are going off from all the porch lights flipping on. So yeah, so we got it up on the trailer. The cops did show up, by the way,
Sure, they
but
did,
yeah, but they they
and
were
they were
pissed
pissed.
off. Yeah, they
They
were
were pissed
pissed
off
off.
because they were having donuts and hot coffee at the Dunkin' Donuts, man.
Something like that. But so anyway, we had it loaded up by the time they got there, and they said, "Did you drive this around the block?" No, sir. We did fire it up, and put it on the trailer though, so I'm sure we apologize for being too loud for everybody. We tried to shut it off as soon as possible, sir. And they said, "Well, we had to report you to driving this thing on the street." No, would not do that. No, sir. No, no, did not do that. Pull it out of the garage, put it on the trailer. We got to be at the track by noon.
Yeah, today everybody be running toward the truck with their whatever they
With their
call those
phones.
things.
Look, I got a video of it.
I got the eye camera off my house. Let me here it is. Here it is. No. Citizens arrest, citizens arrest.
Yeah, of course that was that. Different times too.
Well, I told you my race story, right? So my dad owned a bus company, and we had 42 mechanics, and we built diesel engines. We refurbished diesel engines. We even had a straightening out a straightening out bus bus
Flying
frames.
rails.
Yeah, we had rails buried in concrete, and you would pull from either end to straighten out your frame. So,
Now, see, I had something similar. It was a big old oak tree.
oh yeah, you had oak trees, right? With a strap along, and you
Yep.
pray that dang rope didn't snap when you were doing it. But and we had a paint booth big enough to paint a bus. You had a paint
Oh,
booth big
that's
enough to
big.
paint a bus. So
That's big.
when the fire marshal came in, it was a new building. We built, my dad custom built it, right? And he's been in the bus business for 50 years, right? He owned all the city buses, or their family owned all the city buses. So they were in the bus business. That's what they did. And so he built a terminal, a big bus barn, and it was beautiful. 8 pits, nine pits, 3 flat bays, engine, air conditioning, electronics, and then we had this paint booth, and we painted buses. That was one of our services. We worked on about 600 different bus companies a year in our facility. That was where we made the most money with
Yeah.
mechanics. And we had beautiful mechanics. So I got to meet a lot of Cuban mechanics. Unbelievable. With general automotive education, hire a Cuban mechanic, because it's general automotive knowledge. Okay, they can rebuild anything, right? Because they had to. It's necessary. So the fire marshal comes in and he fails the paint booth. And he says, "You don't have enough sprays. You don't have enough this for the volume and all this kind of stuff. I mean, for this." And the guy, and my dad just looked at him and just said, "Well, what's the law? How is it per square inch or per square foot?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." He goes, opens calls on the phone, has a bus pulled into the paint booth, walks the fire marshal back there, and he says, "Now measure your square footage now of what's needed."
Yeah, because the bus took up the volume of the room.
Exactly. And the guy goes, "Okay, you were nice enough not to call me stupid, but now I can see it. It's visual, and I got you. You passed. Thank you very much." But it was just funny, But yeah,
Yeah, because you got to have as much. You got to have exhaust pulls by cubic feet
yeah,
of airspace so that you don't die in there. Because back in the old
right.
days, some of the paints were downright lethal, like
Oh my
Emron.
God, Emron! I painted him with Emron,
Emron,
which
yeah,
was you had it was activated with an activator.
yeah,
So
it can harden your lungs.
you pour the paint, and then that, and I all my buddies passed away because they didn't wear their 3M masks when they were spraying their orange groves with the powder, with the pesticides. When they would dust the groves and get the mites and things off their
Yeah,
trees, they would just think they were invincible. I'll just wear a handkerchief. I don't want to wear that cluttery 3M mask. Well, they're all dead. They got their
yeah,
brain damage. I mean, they have brain cancer. They're all dead. Sorry. I mean, you shouldn't have done that. I learned from that, and I always wore my 3M mask. I wore a fresh air helmet with a hose that went outside the paint booth. But we painted a bus a week. We had a contract to paint all these buses, and we had to DA them, prime them, paint them, and then letter them within a week. One bus a week. Man, that was all summer long. That's what we were painting fools, let me tell you. But yeah, those are the.
I
Oh, so
never painted a bus, but I did paint a couple semis.
yeah, a lot of paper. You have to tape a lot of paper, and you have to sand. You have to take a steel wool and and
Sand around
and
the
dull
rivets.
dull the rivets, man. And that was the hardest job. And you just had to be, hey, it ain't going to do it by itself. That was our motto. This bus ain't going to paint by itself. So let's get at it, And there's a starting point and a finish point, and you just got to get at it. And
Oh,
we had a lot of
yeah.
fun. Yeah, I found out you could shoot a firecracker through your air nozzle hose and shoot it over a bus and let it blow up on the other side of the bus. We did that a lot. That was fun. So anyway, we were going to buy a race car to run the round track, so do the quarter mile. We bought the trailer, the car. We had it rolled in. It was a Dodge. Brought it in, and my dad's president. My grandmother's chairman. Women didn't own companies, but her husband died. He was my grandfather died at an early age. She ran the company, but she had to run it through, to go get a loan at a bank. If you walked in with a purse and a skirt, you didn't get a loan. So you had kind of had front men that would run your companies,
Yeah.
and then because they just didn't do business with women. That's all. It was just one of those things. So, but she ran the financials. So we bought a race car, dragged it, pulled it in. Boy, my dad was so happy. He was gonna, we were all gonna be part of this thing. It was gonna be great. And the mechanics all came out. This was going to be our, deal. And she walked out, looked at it. She goes, "It's very nice." She called all of us into her office, the dad, the two brothers, my brother and myself. And he said, "Okay, boys, you all are fired. Today's your last day. Get the hell out of here." That's what my grandmother said to us, all three of us. And we're like, what, why? She goes, "Well, let me just put it this way. Either the race car goes or you go. Make your choice right now." All right. Because I mean, she's already lost her husband, right?
Yeah.
So
So the
that
race
was good.
car went. So the race
Yeah,
car went.
grandma didn't want race car racing, so there you go. So
Yeah.
we didn't become race car drivers. So that's probably a good thing. All right, our last story of the morning is, let me see if I can get it up here. This is kind of a funny one. Let's see. All right. This is a good one. You're going to like this one. A woman is a little embarrassed, but well rested. After falling asleep testing a mattress in Missouri, she ended up spending the night there because nobody noticed that she was asleep on one of the, one of the demonstration mattresses they had in the store. They locked it up, turned off the lights, and in the morning came in and woke her up.
Now, see, somebody should be fired because they're supposed to do a security sweep before they leave for the end of the day. Check the bathrooms. Check. You know what I mean? That's
Well,
just common.
maybe the worker worked at a morgue before, and it was really not that big a deal to do a
Or
security
thought it
check.
was a man. Well, yeah, we put mannequins there all the time, so it gives you the real look.
Well, hey, I could see this happening. I really could.
Yeah, I could too.
Hey, why are you at a mattress shop? You're there because you're tired and
Hey, you're supposed to want to test it out
right,
because especially if you spend what that thing cost,
right,
you definitely want to see if you can get a good night's sleep on it.
yeah.
Because
And I got to tell you, if
that's
your
as much
back's
as some
hurting,
people's cars.
yeah, oh, I know, yeah, and they always told me, well, I have a bad back. I've had a bad back since I broke my back in junior high football. I broke my back, so I had to always strengthen my back through my whole life. I did it by wrestling, and my doctor always told me, he says, "You're going to be in a wheelchair by the time
So
you're 65."
did
Well,
the kicker tackle you?
no, I I James, I broke my back because we were doing exercises in full instead of being in PTs and just running and doing exercises and let your body naturally bend and move and be
Right.
limber. We had to wear our pads. And so I was a lineman, I was a center. and we had to wear our full pads, hip pads, knee pads, shoulder pads, all this stuff. And the coach made us roll on the ground forward, do a forward roll on the ground. Okay, forward roll. I don't know why. I have no idea why he was making us do this.
In your
And
pads?
in our pads, helmet, pads, everything. He wanted us to do a forward somersault, basically, roll forward, right? And I snapped my back snapped right there, off to the hospital. I was in traction in junior high for a year. Traction, that's fun. Yeah,
So
enjoy that.
there went your NFL career.
Yeah, have a nice ninth grade year.
Larry got my joke when I said, "Did the kicker tackle you?"
The kickle. I know. Hey, those kickers were pretty tough back then. But yeah,
Yeah, about
I broke.
120 pounds of nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I was a center, and I would center for everything. I'd center for regular plays, the punt for punting, and for extra points. So I like that. Anyway, so this is a little embarrassing for this lady. I'm sure she'll get over it, but hopefully she bought the mattress. But
Yeah,
I do know the value of a good mattress because I have a bad back. So anytime you have a bad back, the doctors always tell you to buy a new mattress. Buy new shoes, get rid
yeah.
of your old worn out shoes because that hurts your back after a while. And buy a new mattress, get a new
Plus,
mattress.
they say you flip your mattress every couple of months too.
Sure, you
Yeah,
bet.
yeah, and that works too, by the way, in case people don't never do that. Because you get a little. I don't care who you are, especially like a big guy like me.
Hmm.
You lay in the same spot on that mattress, and you kind of like break it down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so you
yeah.
flip it over, and it works back the other direction because it's now on the other side of the bed. Now your partner's breaking it down a little bit on the opposite side of it, so it pushes it right back up.
Now I
I'll
don't
get
know.
one.
Yeah, I I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if you've heard, but the astronauts are speeding now toward the moon. They made their high altitude orbit around Earth to slingshot toward the moon, but they got a problem. Have you heard about the problem that they have?
No,
Yeah, they got a broken toilet on the ground
already?
already. So it's the pins. They're now at the next 7 days is the pins
Oh
flight. So
man.
yeah, so I don't know. That's pretty small capsule. I mean, that'd be like having a toilet inside of a semi crew cab, where
Yeah,
somebody's
yeah, but if the toilet's working, it sucks it down to another part that you ain't got to sit there and smell it. And
yeah.
in the
So
pins, you're gonna smell it when they go to change the pins out.
yeah. Well, the Iranians, they've come up with their own space program. They said they're going to give up ballistic missiles and just go straight for space. Their scientists brought out a new model today, and this is their mock-up model that they have for. I just love that. I just love that. That's gonna
Yeah, what they do is they pour Coke in there and put a cap on to shake it up, and then let
shake
the
the machine that shakes up the bottle is unbelievable. I mean, it's
well, they got to get it out of get it through the atmosphere.
yeah.
It takes
Now,
takes a lot of Coke to do that.
yeah. Now, Pam Bondi's not having a good Easter weekend, so she's she's going to be out. She's getting her resume all put together, and she's she's not having a good Easter, but
It,
that's okay. She'll
you know,
she'll
it, it
find something.
it took him long enough to do it.
Yeah.
We've been
I
saying this for a few months now.
hmm
She got to go, got to go. So
Now I, I did have we're going to save this for next St. Patty's Day, but I'll come back to Reading, Massachusetts. I don't know if you've ever been to Reading, Massachusetts, but it's a workers hardcore area of northwest of Boston, and Reading, PA. I mean, people are tough out there. They're tough.
I've never been anywhere there's reading.
Reading, yeah, Reading, Massachusetts.
Uh,
It's tough. They're tough
once
people out
again,
there.
once
Yeah, they
again,
turn.
Larry. Once again, he missed the joke.
I got it. Reading, Massachusetts. They turn a lot of wrenches in Reading. Turn a lot of wrenches, a lot of wrenches, a lot of plumbers, a lot of good old people. Anyway, they must have a problem because they can't get out and drive to go to the pub. So they have a pub that comes to you. A guy built. Finally, somebody's smart. He took his RV that he couldn't sell used to anybody. He refurbished it and made it into an Irish pub. And then he pulls his RV Irish pub to you, and you can have a party in his RV in your door at your front of your driveway. Genius, if you ask me.
Like one
Genius.
of those like one of those party vans that they put, like those Mercedes vans that they put together. Uh, and also, I've seen them take school buses and turn them into those, put
Yeah,
poles in them and everything. Have girls come in and drive around town with a strip club on wheels
in a school bus.
in a school bus. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty rough town right there now. That's right. Hey kids, settle down. We got to use this bus later. We got
it's a
Cindy on the center court coming in from Missouri. Cindy, you're up.
well. Some of this is vocational education for some of these girls later in life.
That's could be. Bambi, you're next. Yeah, Bambi, stop the lap dance and get ready to dance. Get your clackers out, boys. All
That's
right.
right.
All right. Well, listen, enjoy your Easter weekend. We have more stories for you, but I thought that was interesting. Sometimes you forget the stories. You forget the stories, and it's
You
good to
do.
get reminded of Jesus's last day. Kind of rough,
Yeah, which
kind of a
wasn't a
rough
Good
day.
Friday. Yeah, it wasn't a Good Friday for
Really
him.
good for him. And thanks for we appreciate everybody that comes in, and we want to thank you for watching. This is Panic in Rehab. James is with Empty Pockets Podcast. James, tell us a little bit about all your podcasts.
My podcast. Well, like tomorrow, every Saturday until we get something else kicked off. And Larry does the Veterans Affairs. Larry's a Vietnam vet. We're on the last series of the Camp Lejeune water contamination situation. People trying to get, that was ever stationed there. They got to get their benefits. Some of them's already not long, no longer with us, so their family members need to, reach out and see if they can get, some kind of justice for that. And then every Sunday, Haitian Invasion, Springfield, Ohio. And we every Sunday we talk about the problems in Springfield and what the Haitians have created the problems in Springfield and the corruption. And then Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock, it's True Crimes. We talk about murders and missing women of the Springfield and surrounding area. And you wouldn't think that that would be that long of a series of stuff, but it's going to go beyond a year. We can tell a story every week for beyond a year, and cover not even all the cases. That's what's sad about this whole area around here. And then Wednesday we have 6 p.m. We have sports. We'll be talking about. We just got done doing the Final Four this past week, and we're going to be getting into golf, and we're going to talk NASCAR, and
Wife loves watching golf,
and
man.
the yeah. So and then every Wednesday night it's 10 o'clock. It's Barstool Politics. So and last
Yeah, we
Wednesday
want you
night,
to take a break. We want you to take a break from that barstool politics, okay? I mean, we'd rather have a tea with politics with James. We'd like to see that a little
well,
bit
no, the audience likes to see me a little tipsy, uh, which
better.
which we went. It was a 6-hour podcast, I think, Wednesday night. Because what's nice about that is I'm at home. I don't have to worry about the bars closing because I am the bar, and so it goes to whenever we're done drinking. So, and we talk about a lot of stuff. I mean, we get into all kinds of topics. So
Well,
and then I have special interviews coming up. Every week I usually have somebody of importance that I interview, but I always announce those ahead of time. And of course, I'm
what?
on here every morning, Monday through Friday, at 5 a.m.
That's right. 5 a.m. every morning with
Oh,
Panic in Rehab.
plus I
And
work on the governor race. I'm on the campaign for Heather Hill and Stuart uh, Moats. Sorry, I do that all the time, Larry. Stuart Moats. We are coming down to the final few weeks before the primaries. So we're trying to beat out Vivek Ramaswamy and Casey Putich, who are also running as a Republican, uh, wanting to be the Republican Party nominee for the governor of Ohio.
uh-huh.
So
Okay.
and pretty much, I think it's and plus I'm trying to kick off a radio station, so you know
Right.
it, I don't have much going on.
No, you have a lot going on. That's awesome. All right. Well, that about does it this morning. We appreciate it. Have a nice Easter weekend, and we're out of here.
Oh, did you notice one thing?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't cuss one time.
You didn't. There was you went from a record 200 to 0.
You know
That's
why?
incredible.
Because it's
That's
Good Friday.
incredible.
It's Good Friday.
It's Good Friday.
It just shows you I can.
You can. That's right. You can. And it was interesting talking about our racing stories, my non-story to your real story, you know. I had a tough grandmother, man. She was tough. She would let you know exactly how she felt. I remember, I mean, she grew up she lived through the depression. She
Yeah,
survived through the depression. She just said during the depression that it was right. It was everybody had to do whatever they had to do to survive. And she was in Orlando and she was from Mississippi. So during that time period, and then we went into World War II after the Depression. Well,
yeah.
why we kicked ass in World War II was we had just gone through the Depression. So people were already working with each other. They had their own gardens. Neighbors had grew this neighbor grew that. You combined your little gardens and you had meals.
They became
So
very resilient.
very resilient, and they were very community oriented because that's the only way to survive. Hey, how do you survive an Indian attack? You circle the wagons and you start shooting as a group. If everybody did circle their own wagon, there wouldn't be anybody left. We would have been
Plus, they knew
annihilated.
how to come together, like, because there's a shortage of metal
Hmm.
and all kinds of things that they had to, do these drives to collect all this from, what you didn't need that was made of metal. They needed it for the war effort.
Correct.
So,
Did I ever show you a picture? Did I ever
no,
show you this picture? I know I should take a picture of it, but anyway, I'll do that on one thing. But we've lost that in America. We've lost that connection. Now we have all these things that connect. We can connect with our phones. We can connect with podcasts. We can connect with our audience with our chat. It's great, and we appreciate everybody. But it's
yep,
just amazing how we won't even go talk to our own neighbor. You know,
yep.
our own neighbor, and
Yeah, I
or
say
the
that all
neighbor
the
across
time.
the street.
I say that all the time on my podcast. The problem with our communities anymore is we don't know who our neighbors are anymore.
Right,
When I was a kid, my mom knew everybody as well
right.
as you know what I mean. So, which wasn't always a good thing because she said, if any of my kids or my boys act up anywhere, you whoop their little asses and send them home.
Yeah, not with helicopter moms and dads these days. Oh no, man.
Yeah.
They can't wait because they're so angry and upset and depressed that they can't
Yeah.
wait for a good fight.
Or
That's
or
what
or
the problem
today
is.
they do play dates. Back then they'd say, "Get your ass out of the house till the street light comes on. Go
Our
play with
play
all the
date,
other kids."
James, in the 60s, our play date was was leave at daylight and
Yep.
not come back until your
Get back
mom
for the street
whistled.
lights.
You could hear my mom's whistle about a mile away, and it was dinner time. Get your
Yeah.
ass in,
Could you
quit
see the
clean up.
kids? Could you see the kids go like this? Oh, hey, that's Billy's mom, not mine, because they knew each other's whistles.
Yeah, and kickball was an art, man.
Yeah.
Kickball is like how to twist the ball, how to spin the ball. It was an
Yeah.
art.
Yeah. It's like bowling in midair.
Bowling in midair. And it was also dodgeball. It was a
Yeah.
whole combined game.
They're not allowed to play dodgeball no more.
I know. I know. I know. It's like, come on.
Or if they did, they'd all be helmeted up with those big screen mesh things over their face with big gloves and shin guards and all kinds of stuff. It'd be like, well, what's the fun in that?
I know. It's just,
Or
hey,
yard darts.
yard darts. We used to
Uh,
have a game that we play with ice picks. I don't even want to get into that. But they've been playing that game forever with knives their whole lives. It was something that you did. Hey, when you didn't have TV, you invented your own game like
yeah,
can you imagine the guys out west that would slap a bear, a sleeping bear, just slap a bear and see what happens,
it's
Good
kind of
luck
like
with that.
cow tipping in the south.
Cow tipping in the south. Cow tipping. Can you imagine the police having a decoy cow just to catch people?
That's actually, believe it or not, there was a story about. I can't remember how many years ago they actually did that
A
because some
decoy.
farmer was complaining to the police. They come out here. You still there? he